The thin rain of that August dawn seemed to mock her. Each drop falling in Seattle was like a cruel reminder that nothing was under control. Olivia, 7 months pregnant, drove with trembling hands on the wheel, trying to breathe, trying not to panic, but failing miserably. The pain came like a blade, quick, deep, repeated, a strong contraction, then another, and another. It wasn't emotional exaggeration, it wasn't anxiety, it was real. It was premature, and she was alone. The windshield wipers slashed across the glass in a desperate rhythm, as if matching her heart. Racing, frightened, begging for a miracle. She could barely see the road, but she accelerated anyway, parking crookedly at the emergency entrance of Swedish Medical Center. When she got out of the car, her legs nearly gave way. The sidewalk seemed miles long. Every step was a battle. Every breath, a silent plea to God for her baby to hold on. When she reached the reception, her voice barely came out. She just clutched her belly tightly, tears mixing with the rain. "My water, I think it broke. I'm 7 months," she whispered, almost breathless. And her world began to spin into a blur of white and blue, worried faces and hurried voices. A wheelchair, a long hallway, the smell of antiseptic. Questions came fast, but the pain was faster, swallowing her thoughts. "We need to get her to the delivery room now. The on-call obstetrician is on the way," said a firm voice beside her. When the delivery room doors opened, the bright light blinded her for a moment. She was transferred to the gurney, her body weak and surrendered. She closed her eyes, trying to focus on breathing, when she heard the door open again and firm footsteps approaching. "Good evening, I'm Dr. Harlan. I'll take care of you," said a voice. A voice she knew, a voice she'd spent the last 2 years trying to forget. Olivia opened her eyes slowly. The air fled her lungs. Standing there under the surgical lights in green scrubs was Ethan, the same dark hair now with some grey strands at the temples that weren't there before. The same brown eyes, now tired and framed by glasses. It was him, the man she loved, the man who destroyed her world. The shock on his face mirrored hers. The chart he held slipped from his fingers and hit the floor with a dull thud. "Olivia," he whispered, the word loaded with disbelief that seemed to tear through the sterile air of the room. A new contraction, stronger than all the others, tore a scream from inside her, breaking the spell. Reality returned, brutal and urgent. "Doctor, the patient is fully dilated. Premature labor in progress," said the head nurse, an older woman named Margaret, noticing the paralyzing tension in the air. Ethan blinked, the doctor in him fighting to take control of the shocked man. He bent down, picked up the chart with a trembling hand and approached the gurney. "Olivia, I know this is," he started, his professional voice faltering. "No," she cut him off, her voice hoarse with pain and anger. "Don't say anything, just save my daughter." Her plea, the mention of the daughter, seemed to hit him physically. He stepped back, his gaze fixed on her belly. The truth of the situation crushed him there, in front of everyone. "Dr. Harlan," Margaret insisted, "we need to act." Now. Ethan took a deep breath, the conflict visible in every line of his face. He gloved up with mechanical movements, his eyes avoiding hers. "Okay," he said, his voice now steady but devoid of any warmth. "Let's bring this baby into the world." As he began the procedures, Olivia turned her face away, tears streaming silently onto her pillow. Of all the doctors in Seattle, of all the nights of the year, fate had to play this cruel trick on her. The man who made her believe she'd never be a mother was now the only one who could save her daughter. 2 years earlier, Olivia's world had the color of Ethan's eyes and the sound of his laugh. Their marriage wasn't lukewarm, it was constant combustion. They met in college, her in architecture, him in medicine, and the attraction was immediate and overwhelming. They married young, building a life in an apartment overlooking Puget Sound, where late afternoons painted the sky with the same intense hues as their passion. Ethan was a brilliant and ambitious doctor, rising quickly in the hospital hierarchy. Olivia, a talented architect, was starting to make her mark on projects around the city. Their life was a succession of dinners with friends, weekend trips to the Olympic Peninsula, and grand plans for the future. But beneath the surface of that vibrant marriage A subtle crack had begun to form. Olivia noticed it first in the distance. Ethan came home later, and later, the excuse always the same. Tough shift, emergency surgery. The tiredness in his eyes seemed deeper than work fatigue. He became more guarded with his phone, turning the screen down when he left it on the table, a small gesture that screamed secret. Olivia, who had always trusted him implicitly, tried to ignore it. Attributed it to job stress, the pressure of saving lives. The truth, however, doesn't settle for staying in the shadows. It always finds a crack for the light. The discovery wasn't a cinematic bust. It was something far more mundane, and for that reason, more brutal. On a Tuesday night, Ethan was sleeping deeply, exhausted after a supposed 36-hour shift. His phone, forgotten on the nightstand, buzzed. And again. And again. The insistence was annoying. Olivia, thinking it was a hospital emergency, picked up the device. The lock screen lit up, revealing message previews. It wasn't the hospital. The name at the top was Jessica RN. Can't sleep thinking about you. That kiss in the parking lot. When are we seeing each other again? I can't wait anymore. The air in Olivia's lungs solidified. She stood frozen, phone in hand, the buzz vibrating through her bones. Each message was a physical blow. The parking lot, the kiss, the longing. It wasn't a mistake. It was a story happening right under her nose. She didn't wake him, didn't scream. The architect in her, the woman who understood structures, knew this was a fatal structural failure. The building had collapsed. Making noise would only raise dust. With a calm that scared her, she put the phone back, got up and went to the living room. Sat in the dark, staring at the sleeping city, and felt the end of her world. The next morning, when Ethan woke up, she was sitting in the same armchair, a small suitcase at her feet. "What's this?" he asked, his voice hoarse from sleep. "It's over, Ethan," she said, her voice devoid of any emotion. The confusion on his face turned to panic when he saw her look. He followed her gaze to the phone on the nightstand. He understood. "Olivia, wait, I can explain," he began, the classic betrayal script. "No," she interrupted. "There's nothing to explain. There's just a choice to make, and you already made yours." She stood and headed for the door. He grabbed her arm, desperation taking over his features. "Please don't do this. It was a mistake, a weakness. I love you." Olivia looked at his hand on her arm, then his face. "No, Ethan, you love the idea of loving me. But what you did, that's not love, it's destruction, and I'm not staying to watch the demolition." She pulled free and left. That day, Olivia didn't just lose a husband. She lost faith in the kind of love that consumes everything. The months that followed were a grey blur. She moved to a smaller apartment, dove into work, and built a fortress around herself. The pain was a constant companion, a shadow following her everywhere. That's when Lucas appeared. He was the opposite of Ethan. Where Ethan was a storm, Lucas was a safe harbor. Nature photographer, he had a calm that seemed to emanate from him, a peace Olivia didn't know she craved. They met at an art gallery, where he was exhibiting photos of the Cascade Mountains. The conversation started about light and composition in the images and flowed into life, dreams, wounds. With Lucas, there was no combustion. There was a slow, gentle blooming. He didn't try to fill the void Ethan left. He helped Olivia discover that space wasn't a void, but a place for a new garden. He listened to her for hours without judgment. He took her on hikes, teaching her to find beauty in the silence of the woods. He gave Olivia back the feeling of safety, of being cared for, of being seen. Their love was built on honesty. She told him about Ethan, the betrayal, the pain. He told her about his own fears, his own losses. No secrets. When Olivia found out she was pregnant, the initial fear was quickly replaced by a wave of pure joy. She was with a man who loved her, respected her, a man who would be an incredible father. They decided to wait to tell everyone. Wanted to keep that happy secret just for themselves a little longer. On a Saturday afternoon, with Olivia at 12 weeks, they planned a special dinner to celebrate. Lucas went out to buy a bottle of wine, promising to be back in half an hour. He never returned. The call came from an unknown number. A police officer, voice formal and regretful. An accident on the highway. A drunk driver who ran the red light. Instant death. Olivia's world, which she had rebuilt so carefully with so much love, shattered again. But this time the pain was different. There was no bitterness of betrayal, just the cruel, senseless vastness of loss. She was alone again, but not entirely. Inside her, a small life kept growing, a spark of Lucas the tragedy couldn't extinguish. That pregnancy became her anchor. Every kick, every movement, a reminder she wasn't alone. It was a silent dialogue with the man she lost and the daughter who was living proof of their love. She clung to that child with the strength of someone holding a life raft in a raging ocean. She spent the following months in a cocoon, caring for herself, her baby, her grief, avoided well-meaning friends, refused pity in others' eyes. The pain was hers. The daughter was hers. The journey was hers. And now, in that cold delivery room, past and present collided with cataclysmic force. The man who represented her greatest pain was responsible for her greatest hope. Ethan, the ghost of her old life, was there, gloved hands ready to bring into the world the daughter of the man who taught her to love again. As a new contraction tore through her, Olivia looked at Ethan. He was focused, eyes on the monitors, jaw tight. The doctor had fully taken over, but she could see, in the rigid set of his shoulders, the way he avoided her gaze. The shocked man was still there, buried under layers of professionalism, and she wondered, in a flash of clarity amid the pain, what he was feeling, what he saw when he looked at her, pregnant, alone, delivered into his hands. The irony was so thick, so heavy, it nearly suffocated her. Life, in its poetic cruelty, had written a script no fiction would dare imagine. The premature labor was a brutal battle. Each contraction a wave of fire consuming her, leaving her exhausted and trembling in its wake. Time lost meaning. The delivery room became a contained universe where only pain existed, the medical team's command voices, and Ethan's silent, tense presence. He moved with cold, almost robotic efficiency, gave instructions to Olivia, voice firm, devoid of intimacy. "Breathe deep, Olivia. Hold it. Now push with all your strength." He didn't look her in the eyes. His focus was on monitors, instruments, labor progress. To the team, he was Dr. Harlan, an exemplary professional in an emergency. To Olivia, he was a stranger wearing the face of the man she once loved, and that duality was silent torture. "I see the head," announced Nurse Margaret, her voice a point of hope in Olivia's fog of pain. "A little more. You're almost there." Olivia gathered what remained of her strength, her body screaming in protest. She pushed, a guttural sound escaping her throat. It was a lifetime's effort concentrated in one moment. And then, the room's sound changed. The rhythmic, steady beep of the fetal heart monitor became erratic, then sped into a sharp, desperate alarm. "Sudden fetal bradycardia," said Ethan, voice low and cutting. The mask of professional calm cracked, revealing the doctor at maximum alert. Heart rate dropping. Fast. Olivia felt panic rise, icy and quick. "What's happening? What's wrong with my daughter?" "The umbilical cord, it must have prolapsed and is compressed," diagnosed Ethan, already moving. He wasn't talking to her anymore, to the team. "Margaret, prepare for episiotomy. Need more space now. Patricia, call neonatology. Tell them code pink." The numbers on the monitor plummeted. 120, 100, 85. Each drop a punch to Olivia's gut. "Doctor, we're at 75, warned the younger nurse, Patricia, voice trembling. "I know," Ethan growled. He leaned over Olivia, and for the first time since entering the room, his eyes met hers. Professionalism vanished, and for a second, she saw the Ethan she knew. The man. And he was terrified. "Olivia, look at me," he said, voice urgent but strangely intimate. "I need you to make the biggest effort of your life. On the next contraction. Her life depends on it. Do you trust me?" The question hung in the air, absurd and essential. Trust him? The man who broke all her trust? But looking into his eyes, she didn't see the traitor. She saw a doctor fighting time, a man desperate to save a life, her daughter's life. She nodded. a single sharp affirmation. The contraction came, an avalanche of pain so intense it left her breathless. "Now, Olivia, now!" Ethan shouted. She pushed with the grief for Lucas, the anger at Ethan, the desperate love for the child she barely knew but was already her whole world. It was a primal scream of pain and power. Ethan worked with speed and precision that were almost inhuman, his movements a ballet of emergency, guiding, cutting, maneuvering. The world narrowed to his hands, fighting at the epicenter of her pain. "The head's out!" Margaret shouted. "Come on, doctor!" But the body didn't come. It was stuck. "Shoulder dystocia," announced Ethan, voice a steel thread. Worst-case scenario. "McRoberts maneuver, immediately!" The team reacted instantly. Nurses pulled Olivia's legs up and back, flexing them toward her abdomen in a quick, trained motion. The position was brutal but necessary. The monitor alarm was a continuous scream, 60 beats per minute, 55. "Come on, little one, come on," Ethan whispered, more to himself than anyone. He applied pressure over Olivia's pubic bone, trying to dislodge the baby's shoulder. Nothing. "Ethan, please," Olivia sobbed, his name escaping in desperation. "Save her, please." The sound of his name said that way seemed to pierce him. He froze for a fraction of a second. Time stopped. "I will," he promised, voice hoarse. "I will save her." He switched techniques, trying the woods maneuver. His hands, which once caressed her, now worked with desperate urgency to keep her daughter from dying. "One more time, Olivia. With everything you have," he ordered. With one last superhuman effort, a scream that seemed to tear her soul, Olivia pushed. At the same time, Ethan made a precise movement and felt the shoulder shift. The rest of the baby's body slid out in one fluid motion. And then silence. Absolute silence, more terrifying than all the screams and alarms. The baby was blue, limp, lifeless. Not crying. "No breathing. No cry," said Ethan, voice deadly calm. He cut the umbilical cord with a quick motion and handed the baby to the neonatology team that had just rushed in. "Neonatal resuscitation. Now." "Why isn't she crying?" Olivia shouted, trying to sit up, panic consuming her. "Ethan, why isn't my daughter crying?" He didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the small table in the corner where the neonatal team worked feverishly on the tiny, inert body. Suction, stimulation, bag mask ventilation. They were the longest seconds in the universe's history. Olivia watched, heart stopped in her chest, breath suspended. She saw Ethan's back, tense, watching the procedure, ready to intervene. He was no longer her doctor, just another terrified spectator waiting for a miracle. "Come on, my love, breathe," Olivia whispered to nothing. "Breathe for Mommy." And then, as an answer to her prayer, a sound, a small gasp, followed by a cry. Weak, indignant, but unmistakably alive. The most beautiful sound Olivia had ever heard. The room's tension broke like shattering glass. Nurse Margaret let out a sob of relief. The neonatology team smiled. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, his whole body sagging as if an invisible weight had been lifted from his shoulders. "She's breathing, saturation rising," announced the neonatologist. "She's a fighter." Olivia collapsed on the gurney, body trembling uncontrollably, tears finally coming in a torrent of relief and exhaustion. "Is she okay? Is my daughter okay?" After minutes of assessment, Nurse Margaret wrapped the baby in a warmed blanket and brought her to Olivia. She was tiny, face red and wrinkled, dark hair wet and plastered to her head, but her eyes were open and she cried with a giant's strength. "Congratulations, Olivia," said Margaret, voice choked. "You have a girl, perfect and healthy." Olivia reached out with trembling arms and held her daughter for the first time. The instant the baby's skin touched hers, the world around disappeared. The pain, the fear, Ethan's presence, all dissolved. Only she and this small creature who fought so hard to enter the world existed. "Hi, my love," she whispered, face wet with tears. "I'm here. Mommy's here." The baby stopped crying, as if recognizing the voice she'd heard for 7 months. Her tiny fingers gripped Olivia's, and in that moment Olivia's heart, broken, mended and broken again, filled with a love so vast, so powerful, It left her breathless. It was Lucas's love, materialized in his daughter. Ethan watched the scene from afar in silence. He had stepped back, giving them space. When Olivia looked up, their eyes met. No more anger in her gaze, just the raw, overwhelming gratitude of a mother. And in his, a complex mix of relief, sadness, and something more, something Olivia couldn't decipher. He saved her daughter. The man who broke her heart had just given her the most precious gift of her life. The debt was unpayable. The irony, unbearable. Nurse Margaret approached. "She's a warrior. What will her name be?" Olivia looked at her daughter's face, the strength emanating from that tiny being. "Harper," she said, voice firm. "Her name is Harper." The hours following Harper's birth were a blur of medical procedures, exams, and the overwhelming exhaustion that follows adrenaline. Olivia was transferred to a private room, and little Harper, after a full evaluation in the NICU, was deemed stable enough to stay with her mother. Olivia's world shrank to the dimensions of that room, the warmth of her daughter's small body against her chest, and the soft sound of her breathing. Ethan disappeared. As soon as the delivery ended and the situation stabilized, he withdrew silently, handing Olivia's case to another obstetrician. She felt a strange relief. His presence was a complication her exhausted mind couldn't process. Late afternoon, when the sunlight turned golden and long, there was a soft knock on the door. Olivia, breastfeeding Harper, murmured a distracted "come in," thinking it was a nurse. The door opened and Ethan entered. He no longer wore the green surgical scrubs, but his normal clothes, a rumpled button-down shirt and dark pants. He looked like an ordinary man, stripped of medical authority. In his hands he held a small vending machine coffee. He stopped near the door, hesitant, as if unsure he had the right to be there. I just wanted to check on you two," he said, voice low, almost inaudible. Olivia felt her body stiffen. The fragile peace she'd found was disturbed. She adjusted Harper in her arms, creating a physical and emotional barrier between her and Ethan. "We're fine," she replied, voice cold. "Thanks to you. Thank you for saving her life." The words were polite, but carried an insurmountable distance. It was gratitude offered to a competent professional, not the man who once shared her bed. Ethan nodded, gaze fixed on the floor. "It was my job." An uncomfortable silence filled the room. He didn't leave. He seemed to struggle with his own words, jaw tight. "Olivia," he began, finally meeting her eyes. There was anguish in them that surprised her. I need to tell you something I should have said 2 years ago." Olivia felt a wave of tiredness. "Ethan, please. I don't have the strength for this now. Not here." I know the timing is the worst possible," he insisted, taking a hesitant step into the room. "But if I don't say it now, I never will. And you deserve to know. You always deserved." The intensity in his voice made her pause. It wasn't the rehearsed apology she expected. It was something deeper, more desperate. She sighed, resigned. "Speak." Ethan took a deep breath, like a diver about to jump off a cliff. "It wasn't about you," he said, words rushing out. "What happened 2 years ago, the way our marriage ended, it was never about you not being enough, never about me not loving you." Olivia stared at him, skeptical. "You cheated on me, Ethan, with a nurse from your hospital. How is that not about me?" "Because it was about me," he replied, voice choked. "It was about me being broken, destroyed, and scared." He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture she knew well. 3 months before you found those messages, I got a diagnosis." He paused, and the following silence was heavy, charged. "I was feeling strange pains, fatigue that wouldn't go away. Did a series of tests in secret. Didn't want to worry you. Thought it was stress, burnout." He looked out the window at the city, as if the words were too hard to say, looking at her. The biopsy results came back. It was a seminoma, a type of testicular cancer. But mine was aggressive, with metastasis already in the lymph nodes. Olivia's world tilted on its axis. Cancer. The word hung in the air, unreal and monstrous. She looked at him, the picture of health, and tried to process the information. "The prognosis was bad," Ethan continued, voice now a hoarse whisper. Doctors gave me at best a few years, years of chemo, surgeries, pain, years wasting away. He finally faced her, and she saw silent tears streaming down his face. I looked at you, Olivia, looked at our life, your dreams. You were at the peak of your career, full of life, light. And all I could think was that I'd drag you to hell with me. I'd turn you into a caregiver. I'd force you to watch me die slowly. I couldn't do that to you. I loved you too much to condemn you to that. The revelation hit her like a wave, leaving her breathless. The story she'd built in her mind for 2 years, the simple narrative of betrayal and selfishness, began to disintegrate. I fell apart, Ethan confessed, voice broken. I didn't tell anyone. I went to the hospital for work and in secret to oncology appointments. I was living a double nightmare. And I was alone. Completely alone. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered, the question weak, almost inaudible. Cowardice, he answered without hesitation. Stupid pride. I didn't want to be your burden. Didn't want pity in your eyes. Wanted you to remember me as the strong man you loved, not the terminal patient I was becoming. So I made the stupidest, cruelest decision of my life. He stepped closer, stopping at the foot of the bed. I decided I needed to give you a reason to hate me, a reason to leave, a reason that freed you from me without guilt. If you hated me, you'd move on. Find someone. Be happy. It was the only way out my panicked mind could find. The betrayal. The nurse. Jessica. Jessica. She was just a co-worker, he explained, anticipating her question. She saw me crying in the hospital parking lot one night after a particularly bad appointment. I was at my limit. She tried to comfort me, was kind, and in my fragility, my desperation, I clung to it. It was one kiss, a stupid, thoughtless mistake. But when it happened, I saw my way out, my excuse. He started texting her deliberately, left the phone unlocked, knowing she'd see eventually. He orchestrated his own fall. When you confronted me that morning, and I saw the pain in your eyes, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Every part of me wanted to scream the truth, hug you, ask for help, but I forced myself to stay silent. I let you go, believing I was a monster, because I needed you to believe it, for your own good. Olivia was in shock. She looked at him, the man crying silently before her, and saw not the traitor but a terrified man making a terrible decision amid unimaginable pain. The anger she'd nurtured for 2 years began to dissolve, replaced by painful compassion. And the treatment, she managed to ask. Are you okay? He wiped his face with the back of his hand. It was hell. Surgery, aggressive chemo. I lost my hair, weight, will to live. Did it all alone. My parents thought I was depressed from the divorce. No one ever knew the truth. He paused. But then things started to change. Tumors began shrinking. The treatment, with slim chances, started working. 6 months ago, I did the final scans. I'm in full remission. Doctors call it a miracle. I call it a second chance I'm not sure I deserve. Remission. He was alive. He was well. After I got better, he continued, voice full of deep regret, I thought about reaching out every day. But how could I? What would I say? Hey, Olivia. I faked a betrayal to push you away because I thought I was dying, but I got better. Can we start over? I'd destroyed everything, caused you unforgivable pain. I lost the right to come back into your life. He looked at Harper, sleeping peacefully in Olivia's arms. And then tonight I walked into that delivery room and saw you. And I knew I had to tell you. Not to ask forgiveness, because what I did is unforgivable. But so you'd know it was never your fault. Never. The room fell silent, filled only by the baby's soft breathing. Olivia felt her mind spinning, trying to accommodate this new version of the story, one that rewrote the last 2 years of her life. The pain of betrayal was replaced by the pain of his loneliness, his struggle, and the pain of his loneliness. She thought of Lucas, the gentle, honest love he gave her. She got pregnant, was happy, and lost him. And all that time, Ethan was fighting his own battle against death, alone. 2 tragedies running parallel, unknown to each other. "I'm sorry," she whispered, surprising herself. "I'm sorry you went through that alone." Tears returned to Ethan's eyes. "I'm the one who's sorry, Olivia. For everything. The pain, the lie, for not trusting your strength." He stepped back toward the door. "I'll leave you in peace now. I just needed you to know." He turned to leave, but Olivia's voice stopped him. "Ethan." He paused, hand on the doorknob. "Thank you," she said, voice still weak but clear, "for telling me the truth, and for today, for Harper." He just nodded, unable to speak, and left, closing the door softly behind him. Olivia was alone, her heart a confusion of conflicting emotions, anger, compassion, sadness, relief. The story was no longer simple, no villain and victim, just two people, broken in different ways, united and separated by a complex web of love, fear, and lies. She looked at her daughter's sleeping face. Harper. The name she chose instinctively now seemed to have deeper meaning. Her daughter was a victory over Lucas's death, and, in a strange, painful way, a victory over the death Ethan so feared. Ethan's revelation left an echo in the hospital room's silence, a vibration that altered Olivia's emotional architecture. The anger, the foundation of her narrative for 2 years, gave way to unstable ground of compassion and hurt. It was easier to hate the traitor than pity the man who suffered in silence. Hate was armor. Compassion left her vulnerable. In the following days, Ethan became a discreet, constant presence. He no longer came as the guilty ex-husband, but as Dr. Harlan, the doctor concerned for a patient and a baby he helped bring into the world under dramatic circumstances. It was a professional excuse, a pretext both understood but didn't mention. He appeared early morning before his shift officially started, brought her coffee without asking if she wanted it, remembering exactly how she liked it. He didn't sit, didn't force conversation. Just leaned against the wall by the window, watching Harper sleep in the acrylic crib. "Her saturation is excellent," he'd say, trained eye analyzing the baby's skin color. "Weight gain is as expected for a preemie." They were clinical comments, safe. But beneath the medical language, Olivia heard something else, fascination, wonder. He looked at Harper not as a medical case but a small miracle. Olivia, in turn, maintained polite distance. Responded in monosyllables, thanked for the coffee, but didn't invite him to stay. She needed time. The truth he gave was a complex puzzle, and she needed to fit the pieces at her own pace. One afternoon, Harper was particularly fussy. Crying non-stop, a sharp cry of discomfort nothing seemed to soothe. Olivia had fed her, changed her diaper, rocked her. She was exhausted, frustrated, on the verge of tears. At the height of her despair, the door opened and Ethan entered. He saw the scene. Olivia standing, rocking the crying baby, her face a mask of fatigue. He said nothing, just approached, washed his hands meticulously at the sink, and extended his arms. "Give her to me," he said, voice soft. Olivia hesitated for a split second. Handing her daughter, Lucas's daughter, to Ethan felt like betrayal on multiple levels. But exhaustion won. She handed over the crying bundle. Ethan held Harper with surprising confidence. He nestled her against his chest, large, experienced hands supporting the tiny head. He began walking the room in a slow, steady rhythm, murmuring low, rhythmic sounds. "It's colic," he said, not looking at Olivia. "Very common in preemies. Their digestive system is still immature." He kept walking, rocking, murmuring. And slowly, like magic, Harper's crying began to lessen. Sobs became whimpers, whimpers turned to a deep sigh. In minutes, she was sleeping deeply on his chest. Olivia watched, leaning against the wall, body finally relaxing. She saw how Ethan looked at Harper's sleeping face with tenderness so deep, so genuine, something inside her shifted. He wasn't the arrogant, broken man she remembered. The illness, pain, loneliness, it all transformed him. There was humility now, maturity that didn't exist before. He placed Harper back in the crib with the delicacy of handling the world's most precious thing. "You need to rest," he told Olivia, voice still low. "Lie down. I'll stay until she wakes again." "You don't have to do this," she replied, voice weak. "I know," he said, pulling the armchair closer to the crib. "But I want to." And for the first time, Olivia didn't send him away. She lay down, and under Ethan's watchful eye fell asleep in seconds. That afternoon marked a subtle change. Ethan's presence ceased to be an intrusion and became comfort. He continued respecting her space, never mentioning the past, never asking forgiveness. His actions spoke for him. He taught her how to bathe such a small baby without fear, showed the right technique to relieve Harper's gas, explained the medical jargon nurses used, translating the hospital world for her. He became her interpreter, guide, silent support. One particularly long night, when Olivia was battling postpartum melancholy, feeling Lucas's absence like physical pain, Ethan found her crying silently in the dark. He didn't say, "Don't cry," or "It'll be okay." Just sat in the armchair across the room and stayed silent with her. "I miss him so much," she whispered to the darkness, words escaping unplanned. Ethan didn't respond immediately. When he spoke, his voice held empathy only those who've known deep pain could have. "Talk about him," said Ethan, "if you want." And she did, told him about Lucas, his calm, how he made her feel safe, the gentle love they shared. She talked about their dream of raising their daughter together in a house in the countryside. She didn't cry more, just spoke, and Ethan listened. Listened to the story of the man who replaced him without a hint of jealousy or resentment, just attentive, respectful listening. "He sounded like an incredible man," Ethan said when she finished. "Harper's lucky to have a piece of him in her." In that moment, Olivia realized Ethan wasn't trying to win her back, wasn't trying to erase Lucas. He was simply there, present, honoring her pain and the new life that emerged. He was redeeming himself not with words, but acts of service and respect. When discharge day came, Olivia felt unexpected panic. In the hospital, she had team support, Ethan's constant presence. At home, she'd be alone. Ethan seemed to sense her fear. "I can drive you to home," he offered casually, "and help set things up. The car seat, the crib, if you want, of course." She accepted. The return to her apartment was strange. Ethan, who'd never entered that space, moved with respectful care. He assembled the boxed crib, installed the car seat in her vehicle, checked if the house was baby safe. He acted like a helpful friend, nothing more. But when everything was ready and he was leaving, standing at the door, a charged silence settled between them. "Ethan," she said, breaking it, I don't know how to deal with this. With the truth. With you." He looked at her, expression serious. "You don't have to deal with anything, Olivia. There's nothing to resolve between us. What I did was unforgivable, I know that. I'm not asking for a second chance. I just want to make sure you two are okay. If you let me, I'd like to stay around as a friend, as Harper's doctor. Whatever you're comfortable with." The offer was genuine. No ulterior motives, no manipulation. Just a man, rebuilt by pain, trying to do right. "Let's take it slow," she replied, echoing words he might have said. "Very slow." He smiled, a small, tired smile, but the first genuine one she'd seen in years. "Slow, I understand." In the months that followed, Ethan kept his promise. He became a constant but never invasive presence. Dropped by to see Harper once or twice a week. Brought dinner for Olivia when he noticed she was too exhausted to cook. Stayed with the baby for an hour so she could take a long shower or just breathe. He never crossed the friendship line, but the intimacy between them grew differently, built on shared care for Harper and the painful truths now exposed. Olivia saw the transformation in him. The man she knew was impatient, self-focused, always rushing. This new Ethan was patient, observant, present. He found joy in small things. Harper's first smile, how she gripped his finger, the sound of her babbling. He was falling in love with another man's daughter. And in doing so, showing Olivia the man he could have been, the man pain forced him to become. Olivia's hurt didn't vanish overnight. There were moments she looked at him and remembered the betrayal, the lie. But more and more, she saw the man before her, matured, gentle, dedicated. A man who, in a tortuous, unlikely way, was becoming her family again. Time, once an enemy, became a silent ally. Months unfolded in a routine of small miracles and discoveries. Harper grew, a radiant, lively child, oblivious to the complex web of pain and love surrounding her. For her, the world was simple. There was Mommy, her safe harbor, and Ethan, the man with the gentle smile who made her fly through the air and always knew how to calm her cries. The line between friendship and something deeper between Olivia and Ethan grew ever thinner. No decisive conversation, no moment of revelation. Instead, a succession of instants that, added up, rewrote their story. There was the night Harper had her first high fever. Olivia panicked, called Ethan in the middle of the night. He arrived in under 10 minutes with his medical bag and a calm that instantly eased her fear. He cared for Harper all night, monitoring her, explaining each symptom until the fever broke at dawn. When the sun rose, Olivia found them asleep in the armchair, Ethan seated, Harper sleeping on his chest, safe. In that moment, they didn't look like a doctor and his patient's mother. They looked like a father and mother, united in vigil for their daughter. There was Harper's first birthday. Olivia organized a small party at the park. Lucas's family was there, honoring his memory. And Ethan was there, at Olivia's invitation. He didn't try to take Lucas's place, stayed discreetly in the background, taking photos, helping serve cake. But when Harper took her first wobbly steps, it was toward Ethan she walked, arms outstretched, face lit by a toothless grin. Ethan caught her, and the pure, unrestrained joy on his face was something Olivia would never forget. That night, after everyone left and Harper slept, exhausted, Ethan helped Olivia clean the mess. They worked in comfortable silence, communication flowing without words. "He would be so proud of her," said Olivia, looking at a photo of Lucas she kept on the shelf. "Yes, he would," Ethan replied, stopping beside her. "And proud of you too. You're an incredible mother, Olivia." She turned to him. The room's soft light bathed his face, revealing the vulnerability he no longer hid. "I couldn't have done it without you, Ethan," she admitted, voice low. "Yes, you could have," he disagreed gently. "You're the strongest woman I know. I just had the privilege of watching." He stepped forward. The space between them shrank, charged with 2 years of pain, forgiveness, and a love that refused to die. He raised his hand, not to touch her, but as a silent question. Olivia didn't pull back. Instead, she took the final step, closing the distance, and kissed him. It wasn't a kiss of overwhelming passion like the past. It was a kiss of recognition, of peace, a kiss that said, "I see you, the man you've become," a kiss that said, "We survived." They didn't need to say, "I love you." The love was there in how he cared for her daughter as his own, how she finally let him care for her too. It was a different love, forged in fire, tempered by pain and loss, a stronger, truer love. They started over, slowly, with the caution of those who know happiness is fragility. Ethan didn't move into her apartment. Instead, they began building a new home together. Bought a house with a small yard, the kind of place Olivia dreamed of with Lucas, but now the dream had a new architect. 1 year later, on a spring morning, Olivia woke with the same feeling from years before. But this time, no fear, just serene certainty. She went to the living room where Ethan was on the floor playing with Harper. "Ethan," she called. He looked up, smiling. "Good morning, my love." "Harper's going to have a little brother," she said simply. Ethan's smile faltered, replaced by emotion so overwhelming it left him speechless. Tears sprang to his eyes. He stood, walked to her, and hugged her with a strength containing all the past's pain and the future's hope. He knelt, kissed her belly, then looked up at her face wet with tears of pure gratitude. The man who believed he'd never be a father, who pushed her away to spare her a childless life, was about to have two. 9 months later, Benjamin was born. A healthy boy with Olivia's calm eyes and Ethan's easy smile. On a Sunday afternoon, golden sun flooding the new house's yard, the scene was almost unbelievably peaceful. Olivia sat on the grass, Benjamin asleep in her arms. Nearby, Ethan pushed Harper on the swing, her laughter echoing through the air. She looked at her family, a family born from the deepest pain, a daughter who was the legacy of a lost love, a son who was the symbol of a rediscovered love, and a man who crossed hell and returned, not to be a love story's hero but a silent partner in building a real life. Ethan stopped the swing and looked at her, a smile on his lips. Their gazes met across the yard, and in silence they shared a universe of understanding. Olivia thought how strange life was. Sometimes the greatest tragedies aren't the story's end. Sometimes they're just the painful prologue to a kind of happiness you never knew was possible. A quieter, wiser happiness. A happiness earned. Her family wasn't a fairy tale. It was something far better. It was real, and proof that even after the harshest winter, spring always finds a way to bloom. So what did you think? On a scale of 0 to 10, what rating would you give it? Leave your comments saying which city you're watching from and subscribe to follow our next stories. Thank you so much for joining us, and see you next time.